we have a question from a spiritual seeker. And they say, I have a question of a practical nature which I hope you'll be willing to answer. I've been in the awakening process for some time and have observed how it changes as we go along. The past few months have become very difficult as I seem to have been flooded with so much energy, light. It has become challenging to function even on the mundane physical level. Taking care of my basic needs around my apartment, preparing food, eating. I don't want to eat at all, lost interest in food along with everything else. Fortunately, I'm retired. I'm 81 years old, so don't have to worry about getting out of work, etc. So I have been patiently and willingly given myself to the process. It's all I want right now. I've experienced a lot of emotional clearing and associated physical pain, and understand and welcome it for what it is. The past week or so, however, has brought high level of pain in my upper back, behind my ribs, which I think with this new phase of energy I'm in is probably associated with emotional clearing in the solar plexus heart area, which doesn't surprise me. Much needed opening required there. The thing is, the pain is intense, more so than any other clearing pain I have. I'm in good physical health, especially for my age, so tend to think as extreme as this pain is, it is due to the process. But I'm surprised at its intensity. So after all those words, the question is, can the physical pain we might feel during awakening be very intense? I guess I'm looking for reassurance. I have no one else to ask. So yes, during the awakening process, some of the pain that we go through can be intense. However, it does not mean that just because it is spiritual in nature, that we don't extend or we don't reach out for help. Sometimes some adjustment in one particular part of the body can help release stress and tension in a given area and can bring relief. So I would say that it is perfectly okay to rule out the physiological cause first. Once we rule out the physiological cause, then we can work on the psychological cause. I remember I would often experience lower back spasms, which I think I have mentioned in some of my other videos as well. And there was a regular cycle to it. Every time during the months of December, somewhere around my birthday, in the cold season, I would experience this abrupt spasm. And then I wouldn't be able to get up for a day or two, and it was slow recovery. And it kept me tense that entire month. Now, when the pain was acute, in the first phase, I would reach out for help, take medications if required, or maybe join physiotherapy for a few days to help myself. But once I was out of that, I started addressing the question of why is this happening on a reoccurring basis? And why is it so intense that it is completely debilitating me every time it happens? And then I noticed that there was a lot of anger, suppressed anger. And somehow the end of the year was a very stressful time because I used to work at that point. I mean, work in a corporate job at that point. And end of the year was always hectic because of the workload and then the new year approaching and my birthday being there. And there were so many other factors. So somehow there was this stress. There was some memories associated with that, which brought up some sort of discomfort. Now that said, I did work on my physical health. So I would walk long distances. I would build my core strength. And I would advise you in the same way, Here you have to take precaution because you are an elderly. So don't shy away from taking help to strengthen your muscles in that region wherever you're experiencing this. However, that said, let's now rule out the physiological cause completely and we make sure that there is nothing wrong there. Then let's come to the psychological cause. As you mentioned that you were experiencing a lot of clearing in your anahata, near your anahata region, the heart chakra and the solar plexus, Manipura. So, at the level of anahata, the heart chakra, that is the center for emotional processing. And of course, Manipura is the strength, is the foundation. So, we may feel that these are two separate centers, but actually all the 7 centers are working in tandem. The best part is, in my concept, is that when the Kundalini rises, Kundalini precisely knows what to hit at what point. And Kundalini does not take into consideration what the mind thinks. How, for example, if there is a severe blockage in any part of the body, for example, let's say if there is a blockage in the Vishuddhi, in the throat region, the Kundalini would strike it. For you, that may mean something like throat pain, very solid throat pain, and you would not be able to know the cause of what's happening. But you see, Kundalini does not care. It will just do what it thinks is right. So, even in my book, Bitten by the Energy Serpent, I talk about Kundalini and I explain how this energy has its own will, has its own process, which is very natural. Problem is, when we try to obstruct the flow of this natural energy, most of the times that is the reason why we keep feeling intense pain repeatedly. So in my case, for example, I was having issues around my sacral chakra, Muladhara chakra. And that's where I was having most of my pain. And I noticed that I was resisting there. Even when I was sitting, my posture would be tense all the time, out of fear that I may experience spasm again, I may hurt myself again, I may crack my back or something like that. It took me some time to get that awareness. Now, when I started relaxing into my posture and slowly being kind to my muscles, to all that area over there, I noticed loosening, which was eventually followed by some yoga postures, which helped, mobilizing the muscles and the joints and the areas around. So I kept doing whatever I felt at that point was required, and then I left it to God. Or let's say I left it to the will of energy. I let it work its magic. Was it linear? No, not at all. There were days when I would feel the same intense pain, and there were days where it would just feel absolutely okay. But whenever it felt intense and it pulled me down, I did not create regret. I did not create any negative emotion towards it, but accepted it wholeheartedly. I saw it as a process, an impersonal process, which means it is not happening according to how I want it. It is happening as it wants to unfold. So to answer your question, yes, even physical pain can happen during the awakening process, and it can be intense. And of course, having ruled out the psychological cause and other causes, then one can simply be totally present to this intensity without offering it resistance, and slowly, steadily leaning into it and see that it is not really there. When you lean into it, that means when you surrender to it and completely lean into it, actually it begins to disappear. And over time you find that the intensity reduces in magnitude. It is a wonderful journey. Opening of the heart is something beautiful. From that point onwards, you move up to Vishuddha, where some profound realizations happen. And even at this age, I would say it's amazing if this is happening, because for most people, this is not even a possibility in a lifetime. So I hope this answers your question. Please take good care of your health and reach out to people if you need help. And connect with me also if there's any doubt.